Hello and welcome to the Alchemy Laboratory. This is episode 3. Today I just wanted to do some experiments and I figured I might as well document them and drink a little bit of afternoon tea, green tea to be specific, a little bit of honey. So first we are going to get these salts and we are going to imbibe them with a little bit of chamomile essential oil. Excuse the background music. My neighbors, they like to party on the weekends, I suppose. I don't know what's cause for celebration, but I suppose it is the weekend, so I guess that's cause enough for them. So I guess it'll give us a little bit of background music, so it's not that big of a deal. But it is what it is, right? So let's adjust this camera right here. I'm going to just be imbibing just a few drops, just enough to saturate the material. Move this. I think that'll be enough for now. We don't want to drown the material. I'm just trying to reintroduce some wetness back into our material here. So we'll do that in small stages, a little bit at a time for the next few days until it has completely saturated and until we have the material fully saturated. And then we'll just repeat that process until it can no longer absorb material. Here we have introduced wetness to our dryness. It looks like it's clumping up. It's still fairly wet, dry. It's reached more the consistency of like brown sugar, damp soil after some dew. But like I said, we'll continue to do this process periodically, a few drops at a time, until it has fully absorbed and can no longer hold any more liquid. That is to say, till it's fully saturated with the oils. The oil that I'm using here is some chamomile essential oil. One thing to note about essential oil is not the same as cooking oil. Cooking oil is fairly benign, safe. Excuse me, let me move that out of the way a little bit. Just burning some incense there. It's not the same. This is highly concentrated essential oil. These can be caustic and bad for your respiratory system if you don't know what you're doing. So I advise that you're very careful if you're going to be working with essential oils. Maybe even wear PPE if you feel like it's going to come in contact with your skin. So anyway, yeah, that music's starting to get a little bit annoying. I'm trying to record here, but I wanted to record outside, so I can have my incense going and have some good light. I don't really do experiments inside. What we have here is some beef tallow that I collected myself and then processed it several times so it can come to a high level of purity. This has reached about the highest level of purity that I could achieve without special equipment, and I'm fairly happy with it, so we'll be using that. Now while we're doing this, I'm going to be introducing some vinegar to this and try to break it down. My hope is that maybe it'll cause some kind of separation from which I can maybe come to some more pure material. While we're doing this, maybe I figured I'd do a little bit of talking about homunculus. Now, if you're into alchemy, there's a high probability you've heard of a homunculus. If you're not into alchemy, then you might have some understanding of what an alchemist is, although they're probably BS misconceptions from TV and stuff. Not the true alchemic homunculus. Now this is something that I looked for a long time. Although in my early time studying alchemy, and I couldn't find very many things related to homunculus. But here lately, I have come across by lately, I mean within the past couple of years. Paracelsus, I believe is his name. I can't pronounce it, but that guy, he wrote a few texts about homunculus, and they're pretty interesting. Looks like we already have some coagulation here. I don't know if you can see it. The jar is kind of dirty, so it's kind of hard to see, but it looks like it is. It has coagulated into like a waxy substance. So we're going to agitate that repeatedly and we'll see the results from there. So Paracelsus, as I was saying, was a writer, a philosopher. He's most known for a few of his works, De Natura Rerum, on the nature of things, and a few other lesser known texts such as Homunculus et Monstris. And I don't know the names of the other ones off the top of my head. Those are just two that come to mind immediately. And you have to keep in mind that in the Renaissance period, it was believed that the life came from only the man, and that the womb itself was just a warm, nutrient-rich vessel, like a passive vessel in which the baby, the unborn, the fetus, would grow. And this is an idea that came from the writings of Aristotle. So it was a fairly old concept even by the Middle Ages. And apparently Aristotle didn't believe that it was possible for a baby to be born without, the old school way of making babies. But he did leave it up for discussion as a possibility that it could, in theory, be possible. And this is written about later in the Middle Ages of trying to do things like this, of growing, basically lab growing a person using vessels. One of them that comes to mind is the Book of the Cow. Now, I haven't read this cow. I haven't read this text in its entirety, but I have read quotes from it and pieces of it. And I believe that's the one that I made a reference to in the podcast about using cow manure. Now, I don't know if the cow manure was being used as for the nutrients, or maybe to help maintain the constant temperature because of insulative properties, since after all cow manure is composed mostly of grass or hay. So it would be very insulative. So maybe that's why. I don't know. I don't think it's ever really explained in the book, or the text rather. I think the most famous or the most known example of a homunculus is in Paracelsus. I believe that's how you pronounce it. He's the most notable alchemist for writing on homunculus, notably in De Natura Rerum, also known as On the Nature of Things, and a lesser known text. I don't know if it's a book. I know the first one is a book. Another one, I don't know if it's just a text or a book, or if it's a piece of a book. It's called Homunculus et Monstris. I believe that translates to Homunculus and Monsters. There was a quote that I read from that book where it mentions that if a sperm cell is to not reach the uterus, that it could be born, and this creature that would be born would be a homunculus and a monster. homunculuses are basic, but the thing about homunculuses, or homunculi, I believe is the plural form of it, even though they were quote-unquote humans, they were believed to possess supernatural abilities. I believe they were able to transmute, amongst other things. And I believe also if the alchemist that created it was to drink its blood, they would gain the ability to walk on water. So that's kind of interesting. This is just something that I'm talking about while we're looking at these experiments. This is definitely something that I will be discussing at length in a later podcast, on the Alchemy Academy podcast. Where I'll have a few more quotations, a few more references, a few more examples from books and literature, in case anybody's interested in reading a little bit further. But for now, let's look at the experiments that we're working on. It looks to me like this tallow is not really melting as I thought it would. I was thinking that it would start breaking it down immediately. It looks like it's created more of a lava lamp. A pretty gruesome lava lamp. Let's open it up and let's see if I can open it up and see what it looks like. As you can see here, it hasn't really broken it down to any at all. Just separated it, made it more into like a wax. Interesting. I mean, not to say that it was a solid to begin with, but it was a little bit. It wasn't so watery as that. We'll go ahead and close this vessel and let that sit for a few days and agitate it frequently to fully incorporate this into the material. Just agitate that. I think we'll do this kind of like a tincture. We'll agitate it on a regular basis, and if after about a few days, if not a week or so of allowing this to sit in the vinegar, if it doesn't have any changes in the material itself, I think we'll just call that and come to the conclusion that vinegar will not break this material down, and we'll have to find other ways to try to cause separation or breaking down of the material itself. Let's check out these salts right quick, see what they look like. They have a very pungent, very strong odor. It's not bad, but it's very, very strong because of the essential oils that we incorporated into this. Let me turn on this light. Maybe we'll be able to see a little bit better. Yeah. See. That's what they look like. See, some of it's sticking over there. Yeah, I think we'll go ahead and let that sit for a few more days before we incorporate any more oil into this. Just give it time to saturate, give it time to soak it up. I'm not going to undo the lid. I don't want to lose any to evaporation. But anyway, I guess we're going to go ahead and call this episode. Oh, there's the rest of the tallow there. I guess we're going to go ahead and call this episode, and I'll keep an update video on these two experiments here, the tallow as well as the salt material, and we'll see what happens to these. Anyway, until this has been Red Rabbit with the Alchemy Laboratory. See you guys in the next episode. Thanks for watching.